since the swearing in of the Modi Sarkar 3.0. And right after that, just in these last 3 days, there have been as many as 3 attacks in Jammu and Kashmir. First in Riyasi, then in Kathua, and one in Doda. Both civilians as well as army personnel have been targeted in these series of attacks. It is perhaps the clearest sign yet from Pakistan that it is going to keep using these terror proxies to try and rattle the Modi government 3.0. The terrorists have also changed tack. Now, most of these attacks are not taking place in the Kashmir Valley. They've now shifted southwards and westwards in the Jammu, Rajouri and Poonch areas. So, the question that beckons, and this is perhaps the first big challenge of the Modi 3.0 government, and that is, how should India respond and be seen as responding to this grave provocation?
जैसे मोदी जी ने कहा कि जीरो टॉलरेंस टुवर्ड्स टेररिज्म, उसी नियम का पालन करते हुए आगे की कार्रवाई भी निर्धारित की जाएगी.
Problem with neighbor will not be solved by military action. Unless we talk to our neighbors, we will not be able to solve the problem that we have here.
डॉक्टर फारूक अब्दुल्ला साहब को आतंकवादियों के प्रति जो वो सहानुभूति जता रहे हैं वो बंद करना चाहिए और आतंकवादियों के खिलाफ कड़ी कार्रवाई हो, इसका समर्थन करना चाहिए.
फारूक अब्दुल्ला ने आज फिर पाकिस्तान की हिमायत की है, लेकिन मुझे लगता है कि जिम्मेदार व्यक्ति को, जो चीफ मिनिस्टर रहा है, इस प्रकार की बयानबाजी नहीं करनी चाहिए.
We're getting breaking news at the top of brass tacks. There's been a fresh exchange of fire between terrorists and security forces in Doda district. This is the second incident that's happening in Doda just in the last 24 hours. There's been firing in what is the Bhalesa area in Doda. One policeman, we're given to understand, has been injured in the exchange. So that makes it 4 attacks just in the last 3 days or so in Doda, Kathua, Riyasi, and of course, like I said, 2 attacks now in Doda in the last 24 hours. Ishan Vani is now joining us with more details on this. Ishan, do we have any more fresh inputs on this latest attack? How far out is it from the previous attack that happened in Doda?
Zaka, it's not so far, and it's believed that the same group which attacked security force personnel yesterday, and there was an intense exchange of gunfire that took place yesterday for at least 1 hour, that this could be the same group which is trapped in the top of that particular mountain range, and police's special operation group and Indian Army's unit have been trying to track them down throughout the day. And this could possibly be the same group which was responsible for attacking security forces yesterday, because there has been a renewed, strategy that the forces have been trying to follow in the mountainous areas of Kashmir Valley, particularly in Jammu as well. So according to that strategy, these forces are trying to, ensure that all the tracks and all those exits from where they could escape are first, located, and then they go about doing an encounter and an operation. That seems to be precisely the case where now this operation is underway. Since it's at the night time and there is very little visibility, so the forces will try to prevent any escape routes and cut off the escape routes for these militants and try to carry out these counter-attack on them. But one has to see that how long does it take for the forces to conclude this operation. But yes, there's a fresh exchange of gunfire. We are told that one special police officer has been injured in the exchange of gunfire, where the forces are trying to lay a dense cordon in this particular area to ensure that no terrorists try to escape from the vicinity.
All right, Ishan, we'll leave it at that. Thank you very much. Ishan Vani, our correspondent there in Srinagar, giving us the details of this latest attack that's happened in Doda. So if you were to take that, that would be the 4th attack in the last 3 days. But let's bring you up to speed with what has been a rather bloody last 3 days in Jammu and Kashmir, particularly in the Jammu region. On the 9th of June, there was an attack in Riyasi, which is, of course, in the Jammu region, which is far away from Srinagar, from the Kashmir Valley. Then the following 2 days, which is the 11th of June, you have an attack in Doda as well as an attack in Kathua. The first attack that happened in Riyasi was targeting pilgrims who were returning from a temple in Shivpuri and going to another temple in Kathua. Hindu pilgrims who were targeted. But the two attacks in Doda, the first one on the 11th of June, and the second that one happened in Kathua. The Kathua one, 2 terrorists and a CRPF jawan were killed. It's an ongoing security operation. The other one that happened in Doda, 6 troops have been injured in the attack that happened on an army post. And the latest one that's happened in Doda, the one that's currently underway, 1 police personnel is said to be injured. So 3 attacks, all of which have happened in the Jammu, Rajouri, Poonch, that part, not so much in Kashmir Valley. Meanwhile, some parties, political parties, have been batting for talks. Farooq Abdullah, the patron of the National Conference, has said that you cannot solve a problem like terrorism just militarily. You have to, at the end of the day, talk to Pakistan. But let's bring you up to speed with how Pakistan, since the 1990s, has been using talks and simply using that as a cover to try and get back at India through these terror proxies. Back in February of 1999, the famous Lahore bus diplomacy, Prime Minister Vajpayee back then, he had gone to Lahore. This was a peace overture from India. The response was that in May of that year, Pakistan launched the Kargil War, which took a good 3 months for India to finally neutralize. In July of 2001, the famous Agra summit, when President Musharraf, the head of Pakistan at that time, attended the Agra Peace Summit. Again, Vajpayee was the Prime Minister. In October of that year, in Kashmir, at the Jammu and Kashmir Assembly, more than 24 people were killed in a car bombing attack. And that was followed up in December of 2001 with the now infamous Parliament attack, in which at least 9 people died. In October of 2008, India and Pakistan opened a trade route at the line of control. This was, of course, taking off from the entente that was found at Sharm el-Sheikh and subsequently in other places as well. In November of that year, India saw the worst terror attack on its soil. 174 people were killed in the Mumbai terror attack. Mr. Modi, after he came to office in July of 2015, Mr. Modi and Nawaz Sharif, who was Prime Minister of Pakistan at that time, they met in Ufa at the sidelines of the SCO summit. In December, India had proposed a comprehensive dialogue. Then in 2016, on the 1st of January, 7 soldiers were killed in the Pathankot airbase attack. Also, that same year, in 2016, in September of that year, in Uri, 17 soldiers were killed. India, of course, responded with what is now called, famously, the first surgical strikes. In September of 2018, India accepted the foreign ministers' meeting proposal between India and Pakistan. In February of 2019, just a few weeks before the Lok Sabha election of 2019, 40 CRPF personnel were killed in Pulwama, again in one of the most dreaded terror attacks in the Kashmir Valley. So how does India respond to this rather changed tactic by the terrorists? They're not targeting Kashmir as much as they're targeting the Jammu region, particularly in the last year and a half. Ajay Alok is national spokesperson of the BJP. Adil Singh Boparai is a spokesperson of the Congress Party. SP Vaid, former DGP of Jammu and Kashmir. Lieutenant General Satish Dua is former GOC of the 15 Corps. Muzaffar Iqbal Khan is a senior leader of the National Conference. Ajay Alok, let me start with you first. Just in the last 3 days, Riyasi, 9 killed, Kathua, 1 killed, Doda, 6 police personnel injured. All of this has happened just in the last 3 days since the new Modi 3.0 government has been put into office. How is the government of India going to respond to this?
Well, the government of India's response is very clear. The security forces have been instructed to just clean up the mess, and we'll clean up the mess. See, you have to take terrorism into account that this is not merely terrorism for the basis of any kind of a freedom movement or such. It's a business. It's actually a business in Jammu Kashmir Valley, and it's a business oriented, as far as India is concerned, it's oriented to 3 families and rest sitting in the POK and in the Pakistan. It's a purely business for them. With the new government swearing in, and if you see the statistics, in 2023, the relatively attacks have gone remarkably down. Almost, if I remember correctly, it's around 229 or 219 compared to the previous year, because of the activism of the security force and their tight vigil. So it's kind of breaking their back. And with this new government and with the election going so smoothly, these terrorists are rattled that what will happen to the business. So these kind of, the frequency has increased. But we are not worried at all because our security forces are apt enough to tackle them, and we will definitely get into control, and we will try and wipe out terrorism as effectively what we are doing for the last 10 years.
Adil Singh Boparai, the BJP's contention is that these are desperate elements trying to derail the democratic process and the election of the new government. It's all gone so far very smoothly, and therefore Pakistan is finding reason enough to disrupt this level of normalcy in India, and that's why they're doing this. Ajay Alok's point being that we shouldn't pay much heed to it. Of course, go ahead and fully crush it, but at the same time, do not sound alarmist like Farooq Abdullah is, who's advocating now for talks with Pakistan.
Well, good evening, Zaka. At the outset, we extend our deepest condolences to the bereaved families. We stand with them in this moment of grief, and we are united. Let me reiterate this. Every Indian is united in this fight against terror. There cannot be any two ways about this. Having said this, what we're noticing is that there's an increased activity of cross-border terrorism in the Jammu region. These were districts which were previously very peaceful or relatively calm. This is something which is evolving, and we do sincerely expect that the government of India comes up with a coherent strategy to deal with this. And I have great respect for my friend Mr. Ajay Alok, and this is not a moment where I think any person should indulge in any kind of politicking. But having said this, I think the political executive of the day must realize that chest thumping and sloganeering cannot be an answer to deal with terrorism. I have some baffling statistics before me. Over the past 10 years, there have been 2,262 terror attacks in GNK alone, in which 363 civilians and 596 of our brave guards have been martyred. These are very, very baffling statistics. And we understand, the Congress party understands the pain of terrorism. Our party leaders themselves have been victims of terrorism. So therefore, we urge the government of the day, there is no scope for showing any kind of indulgence to terrorism. Take their back. We stand with our brave forces, but it is important to develop a coherent strategy. At a time like this, where there have been attacks almost on a daily basis, Dhaka, and I say this with responsibility, was it not warranted of the Prime Minister to express remorse, sympathy, and an assurance to the bereaved family?
So let me ask Mr. Vaid, as former DGP of Jammu and Kashmir. Mr. Vaid, the contention by the opposition is that there is clearly something happening here. The number of attacks in Kashmir have come down. The attacks in Jammu, Rajouri, Poonch, that belt has been going up for the last year or so. Clearly, the government needs to get to the root cause of it and curtail that. Either the terrorists have changed their tactic because it's getting harder and harder in the Kashmir Valley to have these attacks, and therefore are now looking for newer pastures. And if that's the case, then the government of India needs to be aware of it and be proactively responsive to this. That's the contention of the Congress party. My question to you is, A, why are they changing this tactic? And if it is a change of tactic, then how should the government of India, the Indian forces, police, army, etc., how should they respond?
Zaka, after having the situation in Kashmir drastically improving, you see the tactics of attacking Jammu region, focusing on Jammu region for last 2 years, is with their purpose, a well-established policy of focusing on Jammu region, because last 15 years Jammu region was comparatively peaceful, so some forces have been withdrawn from here. It is largely a hilly belt and with very less connectivity as compared to Kashmir Valley. Kashmir Valley is plain area. Jammu is largely hilly and rugged terrain with thick forest. So there is a concerted move to focus on Jammu so that forces are moved from Kashmir Valley to Jammu region, and the pressure is eased in Kashmir. So that is actually the strategy of the establishment across to focus on Jammu region. And you are seeing first they tried Rajouri Poonch. Last one and a half year, we have seen this situation in Rajouri Poonch. In fact, one of that group was probably responsible for attack in Riyasi on the Yatris on 9th, what we saw. Regarding incident in Kathua, I think fresh bit of infiltration. These two terrorists have been neutralized in Kathua last night. And what you are seeing in Doda, is, about 2 or 3 weeks back, a group had managed to infiltrate from international border. It had actually crossed from Jammu to Basantgarh area of Udhampur district, where it had a encounter with the VDC. One VDC member got martyred.
Okay.
Then very same group actually got into in two groups. One went towards Bhadrawa area, and the other went to the hills of Kathua. The group which had gone to Bhadrawa area is actually the group which got contact yesterday with the attack the army and police picket, where 5 or 6 Jawans were injured.
Okay.
Even today's incident with what you are saying, Badesa and Shatrugala are not very far off. I think the very same group could be responsible for that.
Okay,
now,
I do want to go to Mr. Muzaffar Iqbal Khan of the National Conference. Sir, you know, what your party leader, your party patron, Mr. Farooq Abdullah, is advocating is something that has been tried and tested. He says there's no fully military solution to this. You have to talk to Pakistan. I just outlined at the beginning of the program how in '99 with Lahore diplomacy, we got the Kargil war. In 2001 with the Agra Peace Summit, we got the Parliament attack and the Jammu and Kashmir Assembly attack. In 2008, when India and Pakistan opened a trade route at the LOC, we got Mumbai 2611. The list is almost endless. Yet, the National Conference, the PDP, is not seeing the writing on the wall, and that is, every time you open a channel to Pakistan, you are responded with a terror attack.
Zaka, the chronology which you have given include also the jackboot policy we have adopted for last 10 years. But it could not bear any fruit. You could not eradicate the militancy or terrorism related incident. And for last many years, we are hearing the voices, misleading voices, that we have eradicated from Jammu and Kashmir one ideology particularly. And we have seen in Baramulla what happened. It is not an eradication of the ideology. Secondly, I am not responding to one particular party spokesperson that who are the beneficiary. We are the worst sufferer. You have just counted while giving an account of the past incidents. Who were martyred in that attack which took place in Assembly of Jammu and Kashmir? National Conference people. And the National Conference is the party which has bear the burden of this militancy, this terrorism. We have sacrificed our ministers, our workers, everywhere. And still, the people have cheek to say that this party is benefited out of it. Anyhow, this politics, I don't want to involve or indulge in this
Muzaffar
type
Iqbal
of
Khan,
politics.
isn't it worrying to you, sir? Isn't it worrying to you?
I'm coming to.
No. I think your party leader, Mr. Omar Abdullah, also tweeted about this. He lost an election. A mainstream politician from a mainstream political party in Kashmir lost an election to a separatist who will now be an elected member of parliament. Have you not ceded ground to these radical elements? And at some level, shouldn't the mainstream parties of Kashmir, your party included, sort of contemplate this? Why was that space conceded to these separatist voices in the first place? It can't all just be because the government in Delhi is hostile to you. All right, we just lost Mr. Khan. We'll try and get back to Mr. Khan as and when that line is established. But let me ask General Dua this. You know, this is the contention of mainstream political parties, the likes of the National Conference, you saw Umar Abdullah's tweet a few days ago, PDP, etc., is with this whole, as they put it, the jackboot policy after the abrogation of Article 370, you have simply shut off any window, any avenue, any outlet where mainstream politics, mainstream political parties can thrive. Instead, what you have is the growing number of these radicals, these separatist elements. Now one of them will be sitting in the 18th Lok Sabha.
Zaka, what's happened over the last 5 years is that after abrogation of Article 370, the government has tried to usher in development and growth and reduce the levels of violence. We are certainly seeing the manifestations of that. There is no violence spilling on the streets. There is no stone pelting. Schools are running. Tourists are coming, and all that things happening. I'm not trying to say that alienation has been eradicated, but the fact of the matter also remains that there are a lot of people who are participating in or are beneficiary of the growth and development that is taking place. So you see, and of course, on the other hand, the security forces have sewn up the place very tight, whether it is on the LOC or in the hinterland in Kashmir. So you have seen a shift. The terrorists have started to shift their tactics, have started to shift to the Pir Panjal. If you remember before, in the month of September, we had a high-profile terror incident, but that was in the area of Verinag, again on the Pir Panjal ranges, on the north face of Pir Panjal ranges. Thereafter, Rajouri Punch has been activated over a period of time. Mr. Ved spoke about that in detail. Now, what is happening essentially? They are changing tack because since quiet is coming in the valley, at least overtly. So to instill that fear in the mind of people, elections go off very peacefully. They want to instill fear in the minds of people. Now, we are looking at two major events that are coming up now in next couple of months. We have the Amarnath Yatra that's coming up, and thereafter the elections, which are mandated to be held before the state elections, before 30th of September. Now, here is the time that the terrorists have started to, suitably so, LET spokesperson has said, after this Riyasi attack, that this is a renewed terror attack or worse to that effect. So they are saying that they want to renew that that kind of instilling of terror in the minds of people as it was earlier. So that's an admission of things going towards normalcy in the Kashmir Valley. To your question about the alienation, I do concede. It is not as if that alienation has totally been rooted out, but the manifestations of it, the violence levels, and I mean the puns, the hartals, the markets closing, everything, at least there we are seeing more peace and quiet.
Let me ask Ajay Alok this. You have those two big events coming up, the Amarnath Yatra, which will start in the next few days, and then you have state assembly elections, which, as the Supreme Court has directed, have to be concluded before the 30th of September. The question is, if you're seeing this amp up of terror attacks just 3 days into the new Modi government tenure, how are you preparing yourself for both of these significant events, which, of course, carry their own inherent security risks?
See, Zaka, you have to take in 2-3 things into account. Like what my NC spokesperson said, that you will have to talk, it cannot be eradicated. We are not here for eradication of terrorism. We are here for eradication of terrorism from Jammu and Kashmir. Now, why they have shifted to Jammu? This is also very significant, because now these terrorists want to terrorize Hindu population. There is a communal angle attached to it. They want to create unrest. When the unrest will be created and the election cannot be conducted, that will give a bad name to the Modi government and to India. And they can highlight the Kashmir and Jammu and Kashmir issue all over globally. And people like Farooq Abdullah, when they resent their voice that yes, we should have a dialogue with Pakistan, we cannot do this, there is a threat to Amarnath Yatra, this is nothing but adding confusion. If you are in a main political frame of this country, if you are a main political party of this country, if you are thinking that Kashmir is an integral part of India, then you cannot think of talking to Pakistan on how to settle terrorism in India. This is our problem, we have to solve it. But if you are giving voice to terrorism, that no, the solution has to come by talks and talks, sorry. We have been talking for the last 70 years with no results. Now we are seeing results post abrogation of Article 370. What kind of development and what kind of sheer people participation is there? I mean, look at the voting turnout in Kashmir. You could see the lines, and people are waiting for assembly election. And that's why I'm saying that to break the morale, these terrorists are doing all these things, but it's not going to happen.
Okay. Let me ask Muzaffar Iqbal Khan, whose line is back, whose line is back with us. Mr. Khan, Mr. Ajay Alok's contention is two things. One, this is being used to target the upcoming elections because these elements, these terrorists don't want to see peaceful elections, elections in which, for example, like we saw in the Lok Sabha elections, the voter turnout has gone up significantly in many parts of Kashmir. And number two, this is also an attempt, as he contends, to shift the attacks from Kashmir for whatever reason. You could call it, enhanced security, surveillance there, or, a changed situation on the ground after the abrogation of Article 370, the ring fencing, whatever it is. But they now want to move away from the Kashmir Valley and target Hindus in Jammu. How do you respond to that?
Maybe because I do not know. Yes, there is a change in the modus operandi of these subversive activities. There is no doubt in it. For last 1.5 years, or rather last 2 years, we have been witnessing here the bloody attacks in Poonch, Rajouri. One very inhuman attack, I can say it, the worst of its kind, in Dera Ki Gali, where they have mutilated certain our martyrs. That was very heart-wrenching. There is no doubt in it. I do not know what maybe their intention. Maybe they have an intention to create a communal wedge here, or they want to target Hindu community. That may be one of the reasons for shifting from Kashmir to Jammu. I cannot say about it because I am not privy to all these developments, because these are the security agencies who can tell.
Okay.
Another argument which has been raised by one of my colleagues, panelist here, that Farooq Abdullah is saying this. Either tell us that your jackpot policy has any result-oriented shift in Jammu and Kashmir. It goes without saying that this large-scale participation in parliamentary election is not related to Article 370 abrogation. Rather, it was an anger against the central government. That is why the central government sponsoring party, that party which has abrogated Article 370 unconstitutionally, it has been voted out. All those who were supported by the BJP, they got their deposit forfeited everywhere in all the
but
three
Mr.
seats.
Khan, how do you explain, Mr. Khan, very simple question. In 3 constituencies in Kashmir, in one, you have Engineer Rashid, who's a separatist elected, and he defeated the leader of your party, Mr. Umar Abdullah. In the other 2 constituencies, you have your party candidates defeating, much bigger names, and your party candidates winning. So how have you drawn the conclusion that A, this was a vote against Article 370, or the parties that supported Article 370?
Definitely, BJP was supporting either PC in Baramulla, then in Srinagar Central seat, they were supporting Buhari's candidate. In South Kashmir and Rajouri Poonch seat, they were supporting again Altaf Buhari. All the 3 constituencies, what we have seen, definitely they owe an explanation to this, that how a separatist ideology.
No, but the person with the separatist ideology defeated your leader, Mr. Abdullah.
Definitely.
So isn't that also a reflection about the failed ideology espoused by your leader?
I agree with it that we lost the election in Baramulla. But more onerous question is on the establishment. They're saying that we have eradicated this philosophy, the ideology.
Okay.
They owe. Second. I want to just respond to one query that Farooq Abdullah has said that you talk.
Yes.
We are continuously talking with China, which has illegally occupied not only one area, but a lot of huge area. Gulwan Valley is with them. We're talking with them or not?
Okay.
Or can we deny that we have stopped talking with them?
So
I agree. I am with you. Either you stop this killing, innocent killing, you stop this by using any method. It is for them.
I'll ask General Dua to respond to that, because with China, it's an army-to-army talk. I think there have been 20 rounds of talks or something. The situation has still not
Farooq
been resolved.
Abdullah,
So, General Dua, please answer the question that Mr. Iqbal has asked. If you can talk to China, why can't you talk to Pakistan? It's a legitimate question.
Right. With our mechanism with China is decades old. We have something called BPMs, Border Personnel Meeting. They are at different levels, varying levels. And as of last, when I say levels, they're different ranks and size of delegation. But as of last 4 years, since we've had this the issue at Galwan and thereafter in Eastern Ladakh, the level has been raised, rightly so, because we have bigger issues to deal with. We have even incorporated a representative of External Affairs Ministry into the talks. So that's a regular mechanism which has helped India and China resolve our problems. Despite the bloody fight at Galwan, we haven't actually exchanged a shot in anger. We haven't actually fired. So it has paid some dividends. Whereas the talks with on the NOC front against infiltrators, when India says that we will not talk unless Pakistan shows a serious intent about winding down terror or stopping support to terror. Now, that is not in the same league as our talks with China. There's a very clear difference. This is at a political level.
Okay, let me ask Adil Boparai. The contention by the BJP is that since the abrogation of Article 370, look at the numbers. In 2018, just before the abrogation of Article 370, the number of terror incidents was 228. In 2023, it is down to 44. Encounters, in 2018, it was 189. In 2023, it's down to 48. Civilians killed, in 2018, it was 55. In 2023, it was just 13. Security personnel killed, it was 91 in 2018 and 26 in 2023. This, the BJP and the NDA government, they contend that this is a direct result of the abrogation of Article 370. There's been a reduction in the number of terrorist attacks, in the number of encounters, in the number of civilians, as well as security personnel killed.
Well, Zaka, a few things which all of us have to keep in mind. Firstly, the BJP has been in power at the center for 10 years and has been ruling the state of J&K through the Lieutenant Governor for the past 5 years. So therefore, the accountability rests with the BJP. The accountability does not rest with Mr. Farooq Abdullah or the PDP or any other opposition party. It is the government of the day which has to be held accountable, point number one. Point number two, and I'll tell you, this is where the fundamental problem is. This government is refusing to carry out an honest diagnosis. This is the problem in Manipur and this is the problem in J&K. Till such time that you do not acknowledge that there is a problem, that your security strategy is not working for whatever reason. Jammu areas and areas around Poonch and Rajouri were previously relatively calm. Today, new frontiers have been opened up by cross-border terrorists. This is a cause of concern. Whatever may be the motivation, the question is, do we have a coherent strategy to deal with this? And it is also a matter of record, Zaka, that over the past 10 years, we've had attacks at multiple security installations. Whether it was Pathankot, Gurdaspur, Sunjwan, whether it was the CRPF camps. There have been loss of life, brave hearts have been lost. We've lost brave hearts in the line of duty. We've lost civilians. I think the most recent terror attack is heart-wrenching. We've lost young children to terrorists. And the government continues to pat its back. This is the problem.
Okay, I'll give Ved Saab the final word. Mr. Ved, you've been in government, you've been DGP. What is the one thing? Adil Boparai and the Congress are saying this government is not even doing the diagnosis right. They're not even identifying what the problem is. They don't even know why the terrorists are moving from Kashmir to Jammu. Leave alone, tackling that problem, even the diagnosis is wrong. How do you respond to that? What is wrong with the diagnosis? Is the diagnosis wrong? And how do you respond to this change of tactic?
Jaga, I don't think the diagnosis is wrong. I think the change in situation, I was seeing your statistics on the screen.
Yeah.
Itself shows how things have changed in Kashmir. But we must understand we have an enemy across which would not leave 35 years hard work, money and effort so easily. So it will try all tactics to continue prop up terrorism. If it fails in Kashmir, it will try here in Jammu region. And as far as Dr. Farooq Abdullah's proposal that we must talk to Pakistan, my question is, who do you talk to in Pakistan? No Prime Minister of Pakistan controls the terror calibration, which actually happens from Rawalpindi. not from Islamabad. Who do you talk to? And if these very leaders, I have all the regards for Dr. Farooq Abdullah and Mehbooba. I have worked with both of them.
Okay.
If they can go on behalf of Pakistan, I'll request Prime Minister to depute both of them to Pakistan. Let them talk to the Rawalpindi people. If somebody in Rawalpindi assures that India's policy that terror and talks cannot go on, we will stop the terror. India will next day will talk to Pakistan.
Start the talks. Okay, I think that's a fair point. Let's wrap up with that. It's a fair point that Mr. Vaid asked. Who do you talk to in Pakistan? Because the civilian government clearly is not in control. The army has a vested interest in keeping this terror tap on. So then, which is the agency that you talk to? We'll leave it at that. Let's see how this story develops further. But there is some tragic news coming in from Kuwait, where more than 40 people, including over 40 Indian nationals, have been killed after a fire broke out in a building. This was in the Magnaf area in Kuwait. Over 30 people are officially critically injured. The blaze broke out early this morning from a kitchen, we're given to understand. This was on the lower floor, and then it quickly spread through the entire building. It trapped many people inside. Prime Minister Modi has condoled the deaths, as well as said that the Indian embassy is closely monitoring the situation and working with the authorities there to assist those who've been affected. A delegation of the MEA, led by MOS MEA Kathua Singh, will be dispatched to Kuwait. Indian ambassador to Kuwait has already visited the site of the blaze, and Al Adan Hospital, where over 30 Indian workers have been injured in the fire incident, have been admitted to. Meanwhile, Kuwait's Deputy Prime Minister has ordered a probe, also held the building owners responsible for the tragedy.
مع الأسف طمع أصحاب العقارات هو اللي يؤدي إلى الأمور هذه.
आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने हम लोग को तुरंत मीटिंग में बुलाया है। उनकी ब्रीफिंग के बाद हम लोग तुरंत कुवैत जाएंगे। जहां तक उम्मीद है हम लोग तुरंत इस पे एक्शन ले रहे हैं।
Meanwhile, just upon returning from Andhra Pradesh and Odisha, the Prime Minister has held a high-level meeting to review the situation relating to this fire incident in Kuwait. In fact, we're given to understand that he's already said that the MEA and dispatched the MOS MEA to Kuwait to take stock and also help in the repatriation of both those Indians who are alive there and want to return, and also to repatriate those who unfortunately perished in this fire accident. Payal Mehta has more details. Payal, what has the Prime Minister said in this high-level meeting?
Well, the Prime Minister taking an immediate review. Dhaka, he's out the whole day today attending oath-taking ceremonies, but he's come back and immediately taken a meeting. The visuals are there for everybody to see. You can see senior officials of the MEA. You can see Mr. Jaishankar there. The MOS MEA who was supposed to travel tonight is also there in that meeting. The instructions are very simple, that as many people want to come back should be brought back immediately. Whatever rescue relief operation need to be run also need to be run on a war footing. That's what the Prime Minister's simple but detailed instructions are.
Do we have any idea of how many Indians were there living in this quarter? Were they just, bachelors? Because many times laborers who work in the Gulf leave their families behind. We're given to understand about a dozen of them were from the state of Kerala. What their identities are, where they hail from here in India, and so on?
Well, the MEA is in the process of identifying all the people, and that's the reason the envoy is already there. He's also taking into account all the details. But we do understand a lot of people from there are from Kerala, and that's the reason the Kerala Chief Minister has also written a letter to Jaishankar to expedite the process of rescue and relief operations. All preparations are being made because remember, the MOS MEA has just been made an MOS MEA just about a couple of days ago. So all the formalities to do with his visa, his diplomatic passport, etc. is being done right now. And as soon as he'll be asked to leave, either late tonight or probably tomorrow early morning.
All right, Payal, we'll leave it at that. We'll see how the story develops. I also want to go across now to Prabhu Dayal, who's been a former Indian ambassador to Kuwait. Raven D'Souza is the managing editor of the Times in Kuwait, and Shan Sen is a resident who stayed in this compound in Mangaf in Kuwait. Let me start with Raven D'Souza. Raven, what is the latest you're picking up? What is the official casualty figure as of right now, and how many Indians, I'm afraid, are dead in that?
I just spoke to the Egyptian ambassador and the Nepali ambassador, so it's quite clear now. Only Indians and Filipinos have been the casualty in terms of deaths. There are no Egyptian deaths. I can clearly confirm that, and there are no Nepali deaths. So the majority of those who are killed are the Indians, and next is the Filipinos. There are a couple of them who are still in critical care. So the numbers won't be very clear today, but as of now, it stands at around 50 because there are still, identification, and there's still some treatment going on in various hospitals all over Kuwait. So that's the numbers right now. The situation, of course, is brought under control. That was a building which had housed laborers, so it's technically called a labor camp. Bachelors stay there, sometimes 4, 5, 6, and maybe even 7 or 8 to a room. So this is clearly a violation of the rules and regulations that exist. But of course they are overlooked. But this situation has brought to light the violations, and so the government of Kuwait is very serious. We have a new government taken charge a few months ago, and now they are very serious about fixing issues that have been swept under the carpet, and human rights, labor rights are one of them. And this company is partly owned by an Indian itself, along with his Kuwaiti partners. They were doing reasonably well. They're a well-placed company. They don't have past precedents of any serious violations. So this is really a one-off incident that got everybody by surprise. We are 1 million Indians in Kuwait. This woke up to the shocking news, and one of the most terrible tragedies we can remember in recent times in Kuwait, especially for the Indian community.
I'm also joined by Mr. Shan Sain. He's a resident of this complex in Mangaf in Kuwait. Mr. Shan Sain, can you first of all tell us what exactly happened? When did you first see this fire, and what went through your mind when you saw this?
See, actually, this incident was happened in the southern part of Kuwait. The area is called Mangaf. This area is mostly the workers who is working in the oil areas and other things, because nearby this area, around 10 kilometers away only, the oil fields, refineries and all these things are situated. Okay. So mostly Indian people, all South Indian, North Indians, all are there. So around 4:30, something like that, approximately, the fire is started from the ground floor, and suddenly it's some blast sound also heard from that area, because some, like a lot of gas cylinders and other things were stored in the ground floor area. So then suddenly the fire spread into other floors as well, and the building has around 6 floors. This building is a 6-floor building. Around 72 rooms are there in this building. And around 196 people were staying. And the company is actually an Indian. The owner of the company is Indian, only Mr. Abraham. It's called NBTC, Nasser Al Bedda Trading Company. So they have some like a supermarket chain also there they are handling. So in the people who were staying in the buildings is from these 2 supermarket shops, plus some people they are working in the company's workshop site as well.
I want to ask you, Mr. Sen, what action is being taken by the local authorities there? We know that the fire has been put out, but in terms of relief and rehabilitation, hospital care, what kind of action are the local authorities taking?
People were admitted in like 3 or 4 hospital nearby areas, like Adan Hospital, Farwania Hospital, then Jehra Hospital, like that. Around 10 people, their conditions are stable, but some people they sustain, like they have like a 3rd degree, 2nd degree burns and other things. So that is the current situation here. But now everything is evacuated. The building is isolated from nearby areas. The police is still staying over there. Fire force is still there. And once the issues are happened, suddenly the interior minister came over the site, and in front of everybody he told the building arrest the building owner, and he arrested the like what to say the caretaker of the building, and he told to arrest the company owner as well. I don't know now they arrested or not.
Okay.
Because usually in Kuwait, if Indian, as an Indian, if you are the owner also, the sponsor will be a Kuwaiti. So in this case, how they will deal, that's we have to see later.
All right, Mr. Sen, thank you very much. We'll see how this plays out for the rest of the evening. Prabhu Dayal is also joining us. Now, this problem of, Indian laborers living in these very, very dingy conditions, 5 or 6 people to a room, etc. This is something that is known. I'm not sure we've had this kind of accident in the past in Kuwait involving Indian laborers. But why has this not been regulated? In this case, both the guests previously were saying that the building is partly owned by an Indian. So it's almost like one Indian was exploiting other fellow Indians for whatever reason, monetary reasons most likely. But this is not a new problem. I'm sure this was a problem when you were ambassador as well, Prabhu Dayal. Why has this issue not been fixed? Why are rules and regulations not being followed as far as these labor camps are concerned?
Well, Zaka, first of all, I would like to convey my deepest condolences to the bereaved family members of those who died in the fire in Kuwait. They died in a 6-story building which was overcrowded. And you have correctly asked the question, why has such a situation been allowed to happen? Why has the government of Kuwait not taken adequate steps earlier to prevent such incidents from taking place? But I'm heartened to note that the Kuwaiti government is now taking the matter very seriously. And I understand that the Deputy Prime Minister has said that while his government took over just a few months ago, he would take steps to prevent labor overcrowding. In this building where the fire took place, I understand that about 160 people were packed there like sardines. So the Kuwaiti Deputy Prime Minister has correctly said that unfortunately the greed of real estate owners is what leads to these situations. I'm again heartened to note that the Kuwait municipality and the public authority for manpower have been directed by him to take action to address similar violations. Now, it is not that these authorities didn't know in the past. Of course, they were fully aware. They make inspections. But I think they were a little lackadaisical in being tough and in taking action. I have also served in Dubai, where the government is much tougher. So I think that there will be a wake-up call now to the Kuwaiti government, and I've seen reports that they have ordered the arrest of the building's owner, who is effectively the managing director of the group to which you referred earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope that some change takes place. But yes, it is unfortunate that the rights of workers and their predicament has not been sufficiently taken into account till now.
All right, Mr. Prabhu Dayal, Raven D'Souza, and of course, Shan Sen, thank you very much for joining us. Our thoughts and prayers with the families of these victims of this unfortunate fire incident that happened in Kuwait. As we wrap up, the other big political story of the day, there's a new government now in Andhra Pradesh under the chief ministership of Nara Chandrababu Naidu. He's been sworn into office for the 4th time, a record that in the history of Andhra Pradesh. Mr. Naidu, of course, will be ably served by his deputy. Pawan Kalyan, the mega star, has taken over as the Deputy Chief Minister of the state. Mr. Naidu's son, Nara Lokesh, will also hold an important portfolio. It was an action-packed swearing-in ceremony this morning in Vijayawada, attended by the Prime Minister, the Home Minister, and the who's who of the NDA Sarkar. We leave you with glimpses from that swearing-in. I'll catch you again tomorrow night, same time.
దైవ సాక్షిగా ప్రమాణం చేస్తున్నాను.
నారా చంద్రబాబు నాయుడు అనే నేను.
It's a new dawn and a new government in Andhra Pradesh. After the NDA had a thumping victory in the Assembly and Lok Sabha polls in the state, TDP chief Chandrababu Naidu took oath as chief minister. But all eyes were on this man, bar star Pawan Kalyan. After his Janasena party had a 100% success rate in the elections, Pawan Kalyan was rewarded with the deputy chief minister's post.
Pawan Kalyan ane nenu Andhra Pradesh Rashtra Mantriga na పరిశీలనకు వచ్చిన.
Known as the bar star, Pawan Kalyan is one of the most popular action heroes in Telugu cinema. He is also the younger brother of megastar Chiranjeevi, so it was no surprise that his swearing-in ceremony was a star-studded affair. 55-year-old Pawan Kalyan made his acting debut in 1996 and went on to star in at least 30 films. Pawan Kalyan first ventured into politics in 2008 with his brother Chiranjeevi's Prajarajyam party. But it turned out to be a failed experiment and eventually merged with the Congress. In 2014, Kalyan floated his own political outfit, the Janasena party. But he did not contest the polls that year and instead extended support to the TDP-BJP alliance, which came to power. The JSP fought the first Assembly and Lok Sabha elections in Andhra Pradesh in 2019 on its own. But the party faced a humiliating defeat, with Kalyan losing in both Assembly constituencies he contested from. Despite the poll debacle, Pawan Kalyan didn't lose heart, and he kept targeting YSRCP chief and then Andhra Pradesh Chief Minister Jagan Mohan Reddy. He slammed Jagan's 3 capital plan and took on the government on alleged corruption. In 2022, Kalyan launched Janavani, in which he held small public meetings to listen to people's grievances. His politics always has a touch of flamboyance. In November 2022, Kalyan appeared on the scenic Kapulapada Rushikonda beach in Vishakhapatnam to protest against alleged construction violations in the region. In November, Kalyan was stopped by police from going to Ipatam, a place where the local administration had demolished several houses. Instead of heading back, he climbed onto the roof of his car and sped towards Ipatam. After Chandrababu Naidu was arrested in the alleged AP Skill Development Corporation scam in 2023, Pawan Kalyan put both his political and acting careers on the line when he declared his support to the TDP chief. Kalyan also maintained cordial relations with the BJP as part of a long-term strategy to take the fight to the YSRCP. A TDP-JSP-BJP alliance was finally sealed in March this year, just in time for the elections.
और जो यहाँ दिखता है ना पवन, ये पवन नहीं आंधी है.
The gamble paid off. Not only did Naidu make a spectacular comeback in the state and the Lok Sabha elections, Pawan Kalyan's Janasena party had a 100% success rate, winning all 21 Assembly and 2 Lok Sabha seats it contested. Pawan Kalyan himself won from the Pitapuram Assembly constituency against YSRCP's Vangagita Vishwanath. This time, bar star Pawan Kalyan has scripted a political blockbuster for the ages.
Few things that are basic, such as it does not have proper connectivity as of yet. There are still some, in infrastructure it's way below than the average mark, and I feel that connectivity is just not important for beautification or I would say to make it a global constituency. No, connectivity is important because it helps us facilitate the transmission of different facilities at the right time. You could call it education, you could call it the health. I went to a very remote village in my constituency in Kusheshwar Sthan, and somebody, I think that boy must be younger to me or almost my age, he told me that when there's flooding in that area, they have to quit going to college because they can't make it to college on time. And especially women, they avoid going to colleges because the colleges or schools, because it's so far and it takes them so much time. So that's the time I realized that connectivity is just not about beautification or municipal development, or I would say that a place looking better. It's also that the facilities that we are doing, basic facilities, should reach them on time.
Right. Shambhavi, but as a woman MP, the gender which is in clear minority when it comes to the parliament, even the current one, are there certain issues you find close to your heart that you want to raise in parliament?
Definitely be education, because this is a very personal story. My grandfather used to swim through a river and reach his school when he was young. Because it was very far away, and he really worked hard towards his education, and education is a big thing in my family, and I feel that education is the only tool that can really transform lives and change society. So definitely education is also on my list. I want to bring good colleges, polytechnic colleges. I want to promote the education of women. I want to promote the education of children, and I want to promote higher education. A lot of girls drop out from colleges and they don't pursue higher education. They get married early, or they feel that it's not important. So I want to erase this social conditioning and promote more and more women to get themselves educated and create a safe environment for women who want to pursue higher education.
Shambhavi, as we were just sharing with our audiences, you're also now one of the nation's youngest MPs. So you are going to be a voice of the youth also. Can you tell us a little bit more about your goals on that front?
Presented by.
Definitely, I am a representative of the youth, and I will always talk about the youth. But I am really more involved in what is happening in my constituency and how I can make my constituency, how I can make my state better. And definitely, all these things will come around, be it social media or different issues that involve the youth. Employment is definitely on my bucket list, and I'm already working on trying to plan a roadmap for good investments over there. There have been some mills that have been, factories that have been shut down for many years in my constituency. I want to work on opening them. I want to be able to bring good, nice investments in my state, so that more and more youth get employment opportunities, because it's a big thing in states like UP and Bihar. So definitely it is on my bucket list, and I've continuously talked about it as well.
All right. So Shambhavi, you speak like a very trained politician already, but just to sort of give our viewers a reminder, you are all of 25. A regular, normal 25-year-old would be wearing their heart on their sleeve, would be posting on Instagram, would be doing a lot of stuff, which in your capacity as a politician is kind of restrictive. Do you find yourself as a person being torn between the freedoms of youth versus the responsibility of youth?
Definitely, it does worry me, because there are a lot of things that we have to be, as representatives of the people, careful about. But it does not, I almost think about it all the time, but it does not bother me as such, because I'm truly passionate about my political career, and I come from a political family, and I've seen, the only thing that I always keep telling people, the most important thing that I learned from my father was, the world always shows you the good side, but it's only your family that shows you the bad side. So my father has always taught me how to deal with the bad times in politics, and how to graciously welcome whatever decision comes from the people, whatever mandate comes from the people. You will have good times, but you will have bad times as well. But I think, whatever challenge may come, I will be able to overcome that challenge with my determination and hard work. And I also feel that with time you get the hang of politics. With time you understand that okay, politics is the only profession that is led by perception, and I think I'll be able to manage my emotions because I'm young. So I think I'll be able to manage my emotions well, and being in politics is definitely a blessing, but I understand that with politics there may come times when it will not be the best of times, but I'm aware of that and I'm ready to take whatever challenges may come.
Shambhavi,
Hello and welcome to this special edition of Vantage. We are coming to you from Bari in southern Italy. In just a day, world leaders will be coming here for the G7 summit. It's a truly charming setting. Good weather, great food and a beautiful coastline. What's not to like? But behind the picturesque views, there are two things central to this region: pasta and mafia. I know it sounds cliched, but these contrasting elements are a part of life in Bari.